Hello and welcome to Friday's edition of Cracking the Cryptic, where I'm not doing Sudoku today. I'm doing a combination actually of two of my very favourite types of logic puzzle. Star Battle, which I am a massive fan of. I've been convinced for years really that Star Battle was the natural successor to Sudoku and would appear in every newspaper in the land and across the world in short order, and it's never quite happened, and I don't understand why. In fact, I was interested, as a bit of a segue, apologies for this, I was interested to see that on LinkedIn Thomas Snyder was publishing a daily puzzle called Queens, which is exactly like Star Battle but sort of one-star Star Battle puzzles, and yeah, I've been doing those most days and thinking how enjoyable it is. So newspaper editors everywhere, start putting Star Battles into your papers. You'll sell more papers. That's my prediction. Anyway, this is a combination of Star Battle. Oh, I didn't mean to press that. And Lits, which is another beautiful logic problem. And the idea with a Lits puzzle is that you have to put into each of these areas here, you have to put a single tetromino, which is a tetromino. Obviously, is a four-cell shape like that, for example. That's a tetromino, but we have to make sure that all the tetrominoes connect. Anyway, I'll read the rules properly in a moment or two's time. It's called Lits Battle, and it's by AFrayedKnot, which I've done many AFrayedKnot puzzles on the channel over the years, but not for some time, I think. So this is a welcome return for one of the great constructors. And it wouldn't be a Cracking the Cryptic episode if Maverick hadn't just taken off and, well, you're about to hear aeroplane noise buzzing past the control tower, aka my office. There's nothing I can do about it, so apologies. Maverick likes to make an appearance. Now, what do I need to tell you about before I read you the rules to Lits Battle? Not a lot, I don't think. I haven't got birthdays to do today, so just a reminder, we are closing in we really are closing in on the closing date for Paws Sudoku Hunt, which has been our competition over on Patreon for the month of July. We have had, thousands of correct entries now, which is absolutely brilliant. We knew it was a slightly easier hunt, and in fact, if you haven't started it yet, and especially if you've done a few Sudoku puzzles before, you'd still have a very good chance of finishing it before the deadline tomorrow. And do check it out, because the feedback's been lovely. Lots and lots of people who've never managed to finish a Sudoku hunt before have managed to finish this one. So all props to Paws. And yeah, it's over there. Go and check it out. And I don't think there's anything else to mention. So why don't we just kick off, and I'll read you the rules of this puzzle properly. So it starts off. It says normal Lits rules apply, but it then explains what that means. It says shade one tetromino in each region. No two tetrominoes of the same shape may share an edge. Reflections, rotations count as the same shape. So that's saying, for example, that shape is exactly the same as that shape. So these couldn't be, how could we do this? It's difficult sometimes with Lits to exactly work out where you can. So what you couldn't do is that, for example, because they are two sort of T tetrominoes and they do share an edge, and that's too naughty for words, so don't do that. Now, all tetrominoes must form a single connected area, and no 2x2 area of the grid can be completely shaded. So as we're drawing our tetrominoes in the grid, we've got to make sure they all orthogonally connect. So it's not enough to make sure they diagonally connect. Can I do that? Yeah, there. These are not connected. They touch at a point. That's not sufficient. So we've got to make sure they actually orthogonally connect, i.e. they share an edge. And we can't have 2x2s, so we can't do something like, oh, that's actually wrong anyway, but you can see there I've created a 2x2, and that's also naughty. Don't do that. And then it says, so we've got a basic Lits puzzle, and then it says, additionally, each row, column, and region must contain exactly one white star and one black star. Black stars must be located on tetrominoes, and white stars must not. Regardless of colour, stars may not touch each other, not even diagonally. Now, AFrayedKnot has been very kind and created an example puzzle, so we can take a look at this and see if we can understand what's going on. So this is the blank grid on the left, and if we look at the blank grid, we can see that, well, if we look at the grid on the right, yeah, you can see that all of the grey cells are orthogonally connected. In each grey tetromino there is one star. None of the stars touch one another diagonally, or touch one another not even diagonally, and in every row, column and region there are 2 stars. It'd be interesting to see. I won't be able to do it here. I actually almost wonder I wonder how difficult this example puzzle is. Because if it was easy, I'd be tempted to have a quick go at it. Like if it was a 2-minute puzzle, it would be quite good to do, wouldn't it? And that would prepare us for the main puzzle. Shall I see if I can find it quickly? Right, I found it. Okay, so let's see if we can just make our way through this example puzzle. And so there are some things we can immediately see here, because this sort of spanner-shaped region, well, 1, 2, 3, 4, is 7 cells. So this square must definitely be litted. It must be tetromino, mustn't it? Because otherwise we couldn't put a 4-cell shape into that. In fact, that shape is 5 cells long. So those 3 have got to be tetrominoed, and that square must be untetrominoed. Otherwise we'd have a 2 by 2. So hopefully we can just quickly... Ah, no! Misclicking galore. What about that shape? Lots... No, actually. No, for some reason I looked at that and I thought I could immediately fill that in, but that's total and utter nonsense. So... Okay, maybe it wasn't a good idea to have a quick go at the example. Maybe the example is difficult. Oh, AFrayedKnot. Have you made something tricky? Alright, here. Okay, I'm going to change tack. Yeah, I'm going to change tack altogether, because don't forget there's Star Battle going on here as well. And those of you who are used to Star Battle will know that 8x8 Star Battles have a little trick that you can perform in them. Look at, for example, at that 2x2 area and ask how many stars can we put into any 2x2 area of a star battle. And because the stars can't touch one another even diagonally, we can't put more than 1 star into this region. So now let's extend that question and ask how many stars we can put into those 2 columns of the grid. Well, we know that column 1 has 2 stars in it, and we know column 2 has 2 stars in it. So there are 4 stars to be placed in the purple area. But we know any 2x2 can only contain a maximum of 1 star. So there must be a star in that top 2x2. There must be a star in the blue. There must be a star in the purple, and there must be a star in the blue. And I'm not sure what that does beyond noting that because there's a star there and there's a star there, and there's only 2 stars in this great big region here, none of those squares are starred. Well, not only are none of these squares starred, but that is a star. So we need to have a way of doing stars as well as tetrominoes, don't we? So let's go to the pen tool. That is a star, definitely. All of these squares are now unstarred. But here's the rub of the green with this puzzle. We don't know whether this square is thingy-thinged or not. Thingy-thing being the technical term for a tetromino piece or not. So we sort of know there's a star there, we know there's a star there, we know there's a star there. Yeah, okay, I think I've made a ricket by having a go at this, because this is actually not easy, is it? Hang on. Come on, Simon, what's going on here? That's definitely... no, okay, so right, maybe we just continue doing Star Battle. Because there must be a star in one of those squares. There's a star in one of those, isn't there? So neither of these can be starred. which means there's a star in one of those, which means neither of these can be stars. Yeah, this is actually working, believe it or not, because now look at what's going on. By just extending this star in row, whatever it is, row 8, column 2 along, we're able to sort of plot 3 dominoes where there must be stars in the bottom of the grid. And now, look at this bottom funny shape thing. Actually, I'm still not sure I know how to deal with that. I mean, it's true. Everything I've said is true. I'm just not sure what it means. I mean, there's a star in one of those, a star in one of these, star in one of these. Ah! Wow, this is really, it's a really interesting puzzle in its own right. I just don't know how to do it immediately. And this means that this could be a lengthy video, doesn't it? Because the whatchamacallit, the whatchamacallit being the technical term for the main puzzle, that's probably going to be harder than this. Okay, come on, Simon. There must be a star in there. That's certainly true. I mean, there's another point I've just noticed here, which is not star battle, which is this square can't actually be a grey square. And that's because if this square was grey, you'd have an L tetromino at the top there in the spanner. But the only way of avoiding a 2x2 would be to have another L in the shape beneath it. So that square is actually green. Now, does that allow me to extend anything in the top? Ah, hang on. Maybe I know. All right, I'm going to change my mind again about how to do this. Let's go back to star battle. Now, this spanner contains 2 stars, doesn't it? Where are they? And the answer is I don't know. But there's no way this can contain a star, because it would rule out far too much of my spanner. I'd only have 2 cells left to put 2 stars into. So that square's not got a star in it. That square's not got a star in it, because that would rule out all of those. Right. And that's good. Good-ish. Because now, if we do a count of the top 2 rows, I know this shape here has 2 stars in it. I know there's a 3rd star in the top left 2x2, so there must be a star in there. Otherwise I can't fit 4 stars into the top 2 rows. Now this square can't be a star, because it would rule a star out of one of these squares. So there's a star there and there's a star there. This is bizarre. I might have to sort of make this into 2 videos or something, because this is not a trivial puzzle in its own right. There must be a star there, because this shape needs 2 stars. Okay. What does this mean, I hear you ask? I don't know the answer yet. No, what I was about to say is total and utter nonsense, so I will refrain from saying it. Well, hang on. Right, there are 2 stars in this shape here, aren't there? And I've worked out there's no star in its top cell. I can't put more than 1 star in there, otherwise the star will touch itself. So this is a star. And that is absolutely massive. Okay, so maybe if I'd spotted that immediately, this puzzle would have been easy, because now I've got 2 stars in column 8, which means I can't have any more stars, so that has to be a star. And look, that's going to do absolutely massive amounts of cleansing of the grid. These can't be stars, so that's got to be a star. I'm into this puzzle, I have to say. This is... look, 2 stars in column 5 have been approximately identified, so let's do that. There must be a star there. I need 2 stars in column 6, so there's no stars there. I've got 2 stars in the top row, so we can do some adjustments up here. Now I've got 2 stars here. You can't... Anywhere you identify that a domino must contain a star, you can look at these sort of orthogonally adjacent cells to that domino and immediately rule out stars from them. So same thing here. This can't be a star, or you couldn't put a star on my line. So that's no star. This is a star. Now these can't be stars. So we can actually put X's into all of those squares. And this can't be a star, or it would prevent the upper dominoes, so that we can do this. And this is really interesting, isn't it? So we haven't really thought about lits terribly much yet. Can put in X's here. Now look, if we look at rows 5 and 6 together, there must be a star in this domino. We wouldn't get 4 stars in. So because there's a star here, there cannot be a star here. So that's X'd, and that's a star, which has put 2 stars into this T-shaped region. So now that's a star. There's no star here anymore. That's a star. Wow. Okay. Well, this was a bit of a ricket, but it's actually really, really cool in terms of actual puzzle solving. I didn't realise this was going to be nearly this difficult, but I have actually now, by hook or by crook, placed all of the stars in this puzzle. Now let's get rid of the X's, because we've now got to, I suppose, work out what this means for the... Because this is only part of the puzzle. We've got to do the lits bit now. Maverick. I hear you. I hear you, Maverick, you naughty fellow. Okay, so let's do that. Now, what does it mean? Okay, well, what we can do now is we can say that that is clearly on a grey thing in this region. So that can't also be on a grey thing, because the grey things in each region only contain 1 star. So that is unthingied. That therefore completes the grey thing. That is green in this column. There must be a grey star in this column, so that's there. That now must be green to avoid a 2 by 2. Yeah, this is really interesting, because the moment that we sorry, there's a bit of noise off camera. The moment that we see this square being grey in this region, this must be green. Does that help? That must be grey, because there must be a grey star in every single row and column. Now, can we make use of that? Don't know yet. Well, here is a small point. In this top region, that region there can't be the tetromino, because that will create a 2 by 2. And the only way of so this must be grey, otherwise this would be the tetromino, but making that grey makes this green, which now means that this is also green, and I've only got 2 squares left to fill in. Now that's got to be green to avoid a 2 by 2. That's become grey, so that's got to be green, which makes that grey, which makes this green, which makes that grey, which makes this green. Nori, 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 nori. That's grey, so that's green. Therefore that's grey, that's green, and that's grey. Now does that actually help us? So that's grey to finish that shape. That's green to avoid a 2 by 2. That's green to avoid a 2 by 2. That's green to avoid a 2 by 2. So this shape here has got to include those 2, hasn't it? Well, these 2 have to be green, because they can't form a tetromino. So this region here, well, we can't have a 2 by 2 tetromino, because that would just break the rules. So that's got to be grey. That's got to be grey. That's interesting. Oh, I see. Right, this is beautiful. This is a beautiful puzzle, actually. This could have been just as Cracking the Cryptic episode to do the lits example, because look, we've now got this going on. Well, that's got to get out and touch the rest of the grey things. How does it do that? You can't attach an L to an L, so that's got to be grey, creating an S. Now this can't be grey, or we'll create a 2 by 2 here, so that's green, but this still has to get out, so that's grey, that's grey. There's got to be an I tetromino now in this region, because that had to be grey. Don't make a 2 by 2. Right, look at this region. You can see this square is part of the tetromino, so that square definitely isn't. And now, how does this top grey slug connect out? It's got to connect out through here to here, doesn't it? Oh, and look, this has been isolated, so we've got to get that out. so that's got to be grey. These two have to connect, and however they connect, that's now green. That's now green. Oh, we can't connect an I to an I, so that's got to be a T, so that's green. This has got to get out, so that's grey. And now, now we can't have an L connected to another L, so that's got to be green, that's got to be grey, and that's got to be green. And that is the example puzzle solved. Let's click tick. Looks good so far. The puzzle is not yet finished, but the digits you have entered are correct. I haven't entered any digits. Okay, well, let's compare it to the example. Hang on, let's go back here. Is it correct? Is it correct? It looks it actually, doesn't it? It does look correct. I'd actually, okay, so if there's no answer put in, what we might have to do is come up with some sort of nomenclature that allows people to test the puzzle. So maybe we'll make if you put a grey star could be an 8, maybe. If we make all the grey stars 8, or make all the green stars 9. Oh, but then maybe we have to also have a number for grey cells that are not stars and green cells that are not stars. We'll come up with something if we have to. But anyway, that was very good fun. Thank you for watching me have a go at that. But now I'm going to have a go at the main event. This could be a lengthy video. Apologies if so, but I'm going to have fun. Let's get cracking. So what I'm seeing firstly is I've got a straight thingy thing. Yeah, the middle cell of that has to be grey, doesn't it? Because that's 7 cells. And there's going to be an I tetromino in there, i.e. a straight line. Well, okay, and maybe we go straight to that, to the star battle rules, because the 2 stars in row 1 have to be... Oh my good... Bitdefender, is your PC running slowly? Go away. I don't know. So this square here has to be... This has to be x'd, that has to be x'd, that has to be x'd, that has to be x'd, and that has to be x'd, because all the stars are in this region. In fact, how big is this grid? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Okay, so it's probably square, isn't it? So it's 12 by 12. Now that's a lot less helpful in terms of the 8 by 8 example we were doing, because there certainly can be 2 by 2s in this grid that are not filled with stars. Okay, right, look at this region here, and let's ask a question. Is it possible that there's no greyness in this little domino of blue here? So is it possible that these 2 cells, or one of these 2 cells, does not contain grey? Well, no, it's not possible, because if all the grey was confined here, it would be an I tetromino, and it would touch the I tetromino here, because this is a 7-cell slug. So there's always going to be an overlap in this position. So that square must be grey, and therefore that square must be grey. I was going to say this had to be an L, but then I realised it could be a T. Right, in fact, that's interesting. Right, watch this. This square is not grey, I'm going to claim. Because if it is, this shape is definitely going to be an L tetromino. And how do you feel... How do you not put an... Yes, in fact, maybe that's a simpler way of seeing it. What is the shape of the tetromino in that S-shaped region? And wherever I put it, it's an L, just because of the nature of the S. And wherever I put it, it will touch this tetromino somewhere. So this can't be an L. Which means it has to be a T, I think. I'm just going to think about that a bit more. Well, no, I've gone too far there. It's certainly true to say if this is grey, it's broken, because this will be an L and the L in here will touch this, and that doesn't work. So actually all we can probably say is that this is not in. But now, yeah, see, now it is possible. If that's grey and then this is grey like that, these two L's don't touch, so we can't do anything there. So, okay. Now I'm stuck. I'm not surprised. I am not surprised I've got stuck. So, where should we go now? I don't know. Well, okay, that's got to go there, hasn't it? Because it can't not take that, so that's got to be green. That's lovely. Okay, so these are green. And now, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So those are definitely grey. And this I in the top row can't go there, or that will be a 2 by 2. So that's got to be green, which means that's got to be green. And now look, all of those have to be grey. This is beautiful, isn't it? What a beautiful puzzle. Now, okay, a lot of this shape has to be green. I should have picked up that instantly. We can get that one to be grey, but all of these are definitely green. Now, there's no requirement. Yeah, okay, it's 2 by 2s. The 2 by 2 restriction only applies to grey, doesn't apply to green. So we can make that green, and we can make that green. Hang on a minute. How are we going to get... okay. I've changed my mind about what I was going to say there. How is it possible that this square is grey? No, because that's going to create an L and another L to avoid a 2 by 2. So 2 L's will touch. So that's definitely green, which means that's definitely grey. So as we'd already surmised, there's definitely a grey L in the S. Okay, alright, but I am now going to return to the other point that I noticed, which is how does this I tetromino escape into the wild? Because what it can't do is escape this way. Because to do so, it would have to take this square, and now this square would have to be grey, wouldn't it? But what shape would it be in this region? It would be an eye touching an eye, and that doesn't work. So this L has to get out via the mechanism provided for it by this shape. And that means, because this shape isn't touching this anymore, that has to be grey, and we have to get out through this little narrow narrow aisle that we've created. So this has to touch this somehow. Okay, another point, that can't be grey, because if that's grey I get an L and that creates a 2 by 2, so that is green. The same must be true of that square. The same must be true of that square. If that's grey again we get a 2 by 2. So a lot of the... Oh, this region's massive though, so we probably need to abandon this. Although that I can do the same with this square. If that's grey I immediately get a 2 by 2. The same is true here. Same is not true here, I don't think. Oh, although, here's an interesting thought. If that... No jokes. If that square's grey, that's an L, isn't it? But we know this is an L already, so that square can't be grey. And the same is true there. If that's grey, that's an L. So that's... So... I don't know if that's good, but it's... Well, yeah, okay, I'm going to do that with that square. If that square is grey, that's an L again. And we know that this is an L, so that square is green. But now, oh, this is so clever, AFrayedKnot. It's so clever because look, this has to get out. So that can't be grey now, or it's totally isolated. So that's green. grey. That's green. This has to get out. That's therefore forced this shape, which can't be a T or an L, because that's an L and that's a T. So this has to be an I. This is brilliant. It's absolutely brilliant. Now, how does this get out? It gets out here into an L. That's then, look at all this. All of that turns green. Oh, maybe this puzzle may not be as hard as the example, because now that's got to be in, that's got to be in, that's got to be in. Loads of this has got to be green. That could be a T or it could be an I. I don't know. That actually that's a T, so that's not in. Right, so that the only way this works is if it connects out, so that becomes green. We've got, I haven't thought about Star Battle for a while, but let's see if we can keep going, because actually in this puzzle it seems like the Litz is the way forward, doesn't it? If that's grey, how does that get... Yeah, if that's grey, how on earth does this shape get out and connect to whatever grey shapes there are on the right of the grid? That can't be grey, because that's going to create 2x2s, lots of them. That can't be grey. That creates a 2x2 instantly. So that's got to be green. That's got to be grey. I worried then that I'd connected an I to an I, but I haven't. I've connected an L to an I. So now, again, this can't be grey because it's going to create a 2x2 here. Same is true here. Same is true here. So this one is forced to be an S. It's absolutely brilliant, this. That is grey now because this has to get out. That's going to put pressure. I mean, this can't be, or none of those squares can now be grey because they're too far away from this one. That can't be, oh no, that's okay. We can't connect an S to an S here, so we have to be a bit careful with that. Ooh, wait a moment. Where's the grey in the bottom row? Well, it's got to be over here somewhere. Yeah, well, that's good, isn't it? So, I mean, even if this is the only grey cell in the bottom row, if we look at this shape now and ask how much of it is definitely green, if that's the only grey cell and we go as high up as we can, everything else, all of those are green. This is lovely. Look. This has to get out. It's got to. There's going to be some grey on the right of the grid. Well, we have to now go through this cul-de-sac to get out. So that's forced. That's another I then to get that out. Now, how can we do... So, 1, 2, 3. That's got to be grey. This can't be another I, but it could be an L or it could be a T. Okay, but we can look at this shape. Now this shape is providing the conduit via which this grey passes through and touches whatever grey is over on the right over here. So there are several cells within that blue region then that can't possibly be grey. If this was grey, it's never going to touch whatever shape this is down here, is it? So all of those are definitely off limits. If this was grey, we can't get down here. So those are, just let me be careful here. Actually, I've got to be a bit careful. I think that one, but maybe not that one. If it did that, then I think we might be okay. Oh, but there has to be grey in the bottom row. That's what we said. So that's got to be grey. Now these two have got to be green. So the grey... this is interesting. So maybe we go back to Star Battle now. I'm just thinking that in the bottom row, one of these two squares is now definitely a grey star. And that means we could do that, couldn't we? There is definitely a star in those two squares. I don't know if that's a sensible thing to do. Maybe we should just catch up on grey stars. On stars for a moment. So, there is a star in one of those squares, because there must be a grey star in that box. So those can't be stars now, because obviously if you do put a star here, all three of those cells to the left of it would be ruled out because of the diagonal rule. Yeah, so the green area in what I'll call box 1 for a moment, the star in that must be in those squares, mustn't it? This can't be a star, or you'd rule a star out of this region. That can't be a star for the same reason. It would rule a star out of that region. Okay, that's good, because now where is the star? Where is the green star in this region? And the answer is it's in one of those 4 squares, which means there's no more green stars in this region. So these are both not starred, and that is a star. We've earned a star, so it was good. It was good that we decided to... Right, and if that's a green star in row 3, there are no other green stars in row 3. This, I mean, this puzzle could have massive, massive potential to... Because it's one of these puzzles where I'm solving it and I'm just thinking, this is such a natural puzzle. It really is. Now there must be a star there. Look at the bottom row now. So because I know I can't put a second green star in column 1, the green star in this sort of this region here has to be in the bottom row. So these can't be stars now. Okay, there is a grey star in one of these cells, so there's no more grey stars in this column. Now there's a grey star there, because there must be a grey star in each tetromino, so these are not starred. There's now a star in one of those, so these aren't starred. Now that can't be starred. Oh look, that can't be starred. There would be 2 stars in that row. So I've got another star, and now none of these can be starred. So there is a star. It's a bit hard to tell. It's in that cell or that cell, but I don't know which one. Okay, that being a grey star rules out stars from all of these. Now there's a star in that domino, so all of those get ruled out. There's no star here. There must be a star in this tetromino, so that goes there. Fill in these. There's a star here. Okay. All right, that might be as far as we can take that logic. All right. No. Is that wrong or right? That feels right. I'm going to claim this might be wrong, but let's explore it. It looks difficult to me for that to be a green star. Because if you look at the region, this region here, where would I put the green star in that region if this was a star? I could put it nowhere without repeating a green star in the column, or touching this green star itself. So I think that's an X. Now that means in the T-shaped region that lives down here, this region, where is the green star? It's in one of those 2 squares. And now I've got my 2 stars in column 2, so this is not a star, and that means that I get that star down here in the bottom row. Now there can be no green stars in this column. This can't be a star because it would be touching another star. In this column I need a green star, so it's got to be there, so none of these are stars. Wow. I mean, this is magnificent. It is absolutely magnificent. And all we've got to do to finish this is just go slightly further now. So there is a star in there. There is a star in all of those squares. But let me just think about that for a moment. Here, okay, here's a small point. Look at this and this. They are the 2 grey stars in columns 5 and 6, aren't they? So there can't be any more grey stars in those columns. So that can't be a star. And that can't be a star. So now this can't be a star. Well, okay, here, okay, so the point here is slightly subtler, I think. If we look at we now know there's a star in those 3 squares, and we now know there's a star in those 4 squares. Now, we can't put more than 2 stars into 2 2x2s. So this square can't be a star, is what I'm saying. If that was a star, I'd have to squeeze 2 stars into that region, which is not going to work. So this is unstarred. And now where's the green star in the top row? It's got to be here. And that touches that square. So now there's a star in that little diagonal line. Ah, bobbins, that's not done it, has it? I thought that was going to be clever, but it isn't. Well, it's not clever enough. Right. Okay, so we've got to spot something else. Where should we look now? I don't know, but yeah, let's just think about, I'm just thinking about this puzzle and its longevity potential, because the example puzzle was wonderful, but it's solved in a completely different way to this, and that does suggest this puzzle has a lot of depth. Oh dear. Okay, I am actually really rather stuck now. How do we do this? Is it going to be... I'm looking. I'm trying to see things. It may not look like I am, but I am trying to see things and failing potentially. Okay. What do we think? We could look at... I don't know. 1, 2, 3. Oh, that can't be a star, and that can't be a star because they'd be touching the star that I've got marked here. Yeah, that's not enough, is it? Yeah, maybe I've got to think harder about... I'm not sure, actually. I'm sorry, I've hit an absolute brick wall, haven't I? Is it something to do with how this gets out? Okay, here's a tiny point. That's an I tetromino, so that can't be a grey cell, because it would be bad, wouldn't it? So this is definitely an L. I just don't know if it goes there or it goes there. Well, I do actually, now I think about it, because if it went here, then we've still got this problem, haven't we? This is now a green cell, but this grey area has to connect to the greys that live over here, and the only way of getting this out now is through this square, which would create a 2 by 2. So I think that's grey and that's green, and that's great in the bottom row because now I know where my grey star goes. It goes there. And now, okay, and now that can't be a grey star because it would be 2 grey stars in the column. So now this domino, whoopsie, this domino here contains a grey star. So these are both out. And now I've got a green star in this domino. Oh, well, is that useful or not? I mean, I suppose I've got my grey star in this, that shape, so I can mark this off. And okay, here's a small point that I hadn't seen, but in this sort of dinosaur shaped, the head of the dinosaur needs to have a star in it. I've only got 1 star in there so far, so that's a star. Right, look at columns 4 and 5 now. For the green stars in them, I have located 2 green stars in those 2 cells. So there's no more green stars, so that's definitely not a star. So is that useful? I can't have a second green star in whatever row this is. Probably row 9. Okay. Oh, Bobbins, there's a very obvious point. Look at the S. Where is the green star in the S? I think it has to be there. I think that's the only place it can go, and that's going to allow me to do all sorts of starage. That's now a green star there. Okay, in this massive region, where is my green star? And the answer is in one of those two squares, isn't it? So that square is not a star. And there is I don't know how to mark it, but there is a star either there or there. So that's also not a star. Well, that's quite exciting. But does it allow me to finish the puzzle? I don't know. I could use... Oh, actually, I could use uniqueness. Oh, no, I can't quite. No, I can't. I thought I'd spotted a uniqueness point, which I wouldn't have used anyway. But I thought I'd seen something interesting. Okay. So this here, this has to connect to something grey, and that grey has to breach across this sort of river here into this area in order to catch up with the greys that are going to live in the top right of the grid. So, what's the furthest? So if this was grey and we went as high as we could, we'd get to this square. So everything else here is actually green. That feels like a win. So, can we do any... Well, that's therefore definitely not got a star in it. What about this one? No, that could have a star, I think. Possibly. Okie dokie. Wow. Ooh, okay, here's a small point. Look at this row. I have got no stars in this row. So each of these dominoes must contain a star. There must be a star there and a star there, and that's going to allow me to do some Xage. Although the problem is here, I don't know whether this is a grey star or a green star, and vice versa. But, okay, but where are the 2 stars now in whatever row that is? Is that row 8, 9, 10? Yeah, row 8. Where are the 2 stars? That must be a star now, which is in that region. So this is not a star. This must be a star in grey, otherwise I haven't got 2 stars in that row. So that's a star. Now, that's interesting. Look at row, whatever this is, row 9. There must be a star there, and it must be a grey star. So this is an X now, because I haven't got a grey star in row 9. Yeah, look at rows 10 and 11 and count the stars we found. We found 3. One here, one here, and one here. So there must be a star in that little region. And this star down here is grey. Is green. It's a green star because we've got the 2 grey stars in rows 10 and 11. So, right. Okay. 2, 3. Yeah, 1, 2, 3. So there must be a 4th star in these 2 rows, mustn't there? Which is now indefinitely in one of those squares, which makes this an X. I don't know if this is the way to do this, but it's my way. And then we could go... Well, what could we do then? Oh, I don't know. Oh, come on, Simon. I don't know. I suspect it's something to do with how you get this across the gap. But that might be complicated. What else could we do? We could say that, I mean, if that's grey. That's grey, that's grey. That's grey, that's grey. What's going? Oh, hang on, there's a... Oh, I don't like that at all. Something's gone wrong. Oh, no, it's fine, it's fine. Or is it? I've got 5. I don't think I've got enough. Yeah, I think there is a problem with that. Although it might be too narrow or a deduction to worry about, but I'll explain what I'm thinking. If this is a grey star, then I know one of these is a grey star, because of this row. So if this is a grey star, that has to be a grey star. Now my challenge now is to say, where are the grey stars in columns 10 and 11? And I think I've only got one region left to put the 2 grey stars into, which obviously is a problem. Because let's just make those blue and imagine these are the grey stars. This region has already got its grey star. This region's already got its grey star. Now that region's got no grey stars, but I need to put 2 in it because I've not got a grey star in this column, I don't think. I've not got a grey star in this column. So I don't think this is a grey star. And the reason I don't think that's a particularly powerful deduction, actually, on reflection, is that it could still be a star. It could just be a green star. Oh, no. Ah, no, that's good. It's not a green star, is it? Because there's a green star in one of those squares. We worked that out earlier. So that's just not a star. That is an X, which means this is a star, which means this is a star. So we've got 2 more stars we've learnt about. But there's something going on, I think, with the number of stars in these, number of especially grey stars in the final 3 columns. So if you make that a grey star, one of these is a grey star. If it's that, then that's a grey star. And am I going to... Oh, maybe I don't run into the same problem. Oh, you know what? Something I didn't notice, which would have made this much easier. There was a grey star looking at that square. So that square could never have been a star because there's a green star there and a grey star there. So that was always X'd. I just didn't notice it. I did it in the most convoluted way. Never mind. Sorry. I'm me, after all. Now, I was thinking about whether that could be grey. Now, if that's grey, that's definitely grey. Now, does that matter or not? So then... I've got to put a star, I think, in one of these squares, a grey star. And is that a problem? And the answer is, I don't know. Well, oh, hang on. There might be a different problem with that. That's interesting as a thought, isn't it? Yeah, okay. Okay, let's just have a think about that for a minute. So this is a slightly different thought, and again, I'm not sure. Well, Actually, it might be useful, so I am going to persevere with this just for a moment. What I was thinking here is, if this is a grey star, it's definitely true this is a grey star because I need a grey star in this row. So these are both grey stars. But the grey star in this region now, it obviously can't go in its own column. This is a grey star. That's apparently not a star. So it's right up here. I'm just wondering, how easy is it to extend the tetrominoes in the way that we need to do this? Do we know what this tetromino is? It can't take those three squares, can it? Because that would create a 2 by 2. So this is either an S or an S. Yeah, so if this is a grey star, there's an S here or an S here. So these would both be grey. And either that one or that one would be the final one. Well, we can extrapolate from that, can't we? There is no way I'm going to claim that this can be a grey star. Or am I wrong? Well, I mean, not a grey star, but if that's grey, we know the grey star in this region is right up at the top. So the only way of getting this out is to connect it to here. And the only way it can connect to here is via this square. So this is forced, and now one of these is blue or grey. But it has to connect here, and that's absolutely impossible. You need about a septomino, so that's definitely doesn't work. So this would have to be grey, but that's even worse as a problem. Well, now that has to be grey. Oh, and this might work actually. I've just seen a way it might work. We know this is green in this paradigm. No, it still doesn't work. Because to connect these two up, how are we going to do that? It has to be via a mechanism that allows us to connect to one of these two squares up here. So we could do that, that's fine. And we could do that, that's fine. But then we can't reach high enough. We can get close actually, but you can't get high enough. Okay, so alright, that's a very long-winded way of proving something. Well, the reason I thought it might be worth doing, though, I've proved that this square is not a grey thingy, technical term for a star. And that does mean I've got a star in this domino, which means this square is no longer starred, which means the green star now has really come much lower. And that means this is now a star, and that is not a star. Don't tell me that does absolutely diddly squat, doesn't it? Okay, so that was a long-winded way of proving nothing at all. Okay, no, it's fine, because now where is my grey star in this region? And I think we've only got one square left that can take it, which is that one. So that probably is the most valuable deduction we could make. Because surely that's now grey. So, does that mean? What does that mean? I'm unsure. I'm unsure what that means. I think it probably means something. Is it something to do with... What's this? This is a green star. Do I know what this is? I know none of these is a grey star, so I guess this is now an X, because that can't be a grey or a green star. It's got quite interesting at the end here, hasn't it? It really has. So how do we do this then? You're probably all shouting at me saying it's obvious, Simon. Well, it's only obvious if you can see how to do it. Anything that can see both coloured stars. Yeah, this square sees both coloured stars, so that's an X. And now, oh, this is gorgeous. Wow, AFrayedKnot. Right, now I'm focusing on this region again. Now that region needs to have 2 stars in it. It's got 1, but there's now a star in that domino, so that must do something. There's a star in one of those 2, so that's no longer a star. The star, do we know the nature of the star? Or are we going to be left wondering about that? Okay, I don't know is the answer. In fact, I'm just going to change the colour of that one, because this one, there is a star in one of those 2, but it sort of breaches this X. There's a star in here, so there's no star there, is there, anymore? So that's a star. Oops, I want to make that. That's a star. That's not a star. That star sees that square, so that this is now a star, which means that's a star as well. Is that now this star sees that square, so that's not a star, so this is a star. So this is a star. This is actually doing things. I probably shouldn't have. Right, that can't be a star now. I've got 2 stars in row 3, so that's not a star. And right, okay, well, hang about. If that was a star, it is a star. If it was a grey star, what would the shape of it be? It would just go straight up, and it would subsume a second star that we know exists within this region. So that is a green star. That's not actually what I was expecting. So the grey star now must be that one. That is not only grey, it's a star. And this is an X. What a puzzle, eh? What a puzzle this is. Now that's grey, because even if we start there, we still get there. This is now an X. We worked out that there was a star on the blue string, so we now know where that goes. We've now got 2 stars in the final column, which means I get a second star. So I know I haven't done all the stars, but I've done many of the stars. So how does this resolve? Oh, I see. These 2 stars knock that one out. That puts a star here, which knocks that one out. That puts a star here, which puts this one in. And this must be, that is resolved, bizarrely. So that's a star. And I might claim at this juncture, I haven't done the puzzle, but I think I've done the star battle elements of it. And what I'm left with is filling in the colours of the lids. So as this is grey, that must be green, because it's too far away. This is definitely the green star. That's definitely a grey star. That's definitely a green star. Yes, okay. Now look here. This domino of greyliness must attach to this, actually, because the general grouping of the path is to go from here to here to here and then up here. So that's got to be a star. Not star. It's got to be grey. We've got to come through the sort of Scylla and Charybdis. Now, is that somehow resolved? This is weird, actually, isn't it? So all of this is green. That's green. And that's green. If that's grey, we'd have to... Oh, okay. The other thing we must do, doesn't this have to be grey now? Because I've got to connect this to this. The only way of doing that is through here. So that now forces this shape. I don't see how I connect those 3 together unless it's with that square. So that's grey. Those are green. This is a T, so this mustn't be a T to the extent it ever it was ever going to be a T. That's green. This looks like it. Oh no, it hasn't got more than one solution. This can't be grey now. I'd create a 2 by 2. That can't be grey, or I'd create a 2 by 2. So that's become grey. Avoid a 2 by 2. Good grief. Good grief. So those are both grey. And I get an S connecting to a T, and now somehow this has only got one solution. Yeah, that's right. It's got to come through there, and that creates an L. Good. That's absolutely breathtaking. Wow. That is a long video featuring 2 world-class puzzles. My goodness me. And presumably it's not going to know, is it? That doesn't look right. It doesn't include solution. Well, okay, it doesn't think it's right because, for any number of reasons, it's trying to test Sudoku. So I'll have to firstly check it's right. I don't actually know how I'll do that. Maybe I can. I think Mark might have a Logic Masters account. I'll ask him if he can work out how to see whether this solution is correct. If it is correct, we'll find some wording of the rules that will allow people to check it themselves when they finish it. But the most important thing is that if you had a go at this, do leave a kind comment for AFrayedKnot, because isn't this amazing? I think it's amazing. And if you watch the video rather than solve the puzzle and you thought it was amazing, leave a kind comment for AFrayedKnot, because my goodness me, AFrayedKnot deserves it. 2 absolute worldies in one video. Thanks for watching, and we'll be back later with another edition of Cracking the Cryptic.